We keep wearing the same tones. We're really in sync.
Yeah. Hey guys, what's up? We're back for another episode of Will You Accept This Rose?
Do you accept this rose? This week was the fantasy suites.
Woo. So you're down to 3 girls. Last week it was Peter had just done the rose ceremony, and it was Victoria, Hannah Ann, and Madison left over. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of left on a cliffhanger where Madison's like, Peter, can I pull you aside for a second?
They go outside of this airplane hangar. As we already knew, she needed to tell him that she's saving herself, and
she didn't say that, though.
She didn't end up saying that. All she said was, I won't be okay with it if you are intimate with these other ladies.
Yeah.
Ladies.
Like 85 years old.
But that's kind of all she said. Like, she didn't get it all off her chest. She just basically was like, I don't think I could be with you if you are intimate with these other girls. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I hear what you're saying. So you're saying that you will leave if this happens. And she's pretty honest and is like, yeah.
Then they go to Australia, which is probably like the longest flight ever. Imagine like whoever gets like sent home, they have to fly like a full 24 hours or however much, like by themselves, heartbroken on an airplane.
Crying.
How awful does that sound?
But it was so beautiful.
It was really pretty.
I'm very jealous.
Yeah. Madison shows up first, and then Hannah Ann shows up, and then Victoria. They've never done this before, but this season they decided to have all the girls like also live together, which is super sketchy because normally it's like each girl has their own room, like after hometown or after, yeah, they don't really see each other, you know? Mm-hmm. But this week they decided, okay, we're gonna have all the girls live together. And I think that was the producer's way of making Madison go crazy.
It's so mean.
Yeah, it's really mean. So Peter comes in, he goes, hey, Hannah Ann, like, will you go on this date with me? And she's like, yep, I'm ready to go.
Then they go water skiing through like the Gold Coast, and it's really pretty and it looked really fun, and I'm very jealous.
Yeah, no, it looked really.
She got like the best date.
I also was shocked because she straight up was wearing like hoop earrings jet skiing, and I was like, oh, okay. They end up making out on the beach with all these different like sunset angles, again, really pretty.
Did you see the picture that was on his story of like him sitting on a railing and she's like between his legs like holding him?
No, I did not.
It's so awkward. Wait, let me find it.
Why does
Doesn't
she
that just
look
make you, like,
she
cringe?
looks like a pencil. Okay, moving on from that. They do their nighttime dinner date, and he was like, they're like chatting, and then he's like, Hannah, Ann, will you read this for me? Should you forego to your individual suite?
Here's a key for your fantasy
Like a legitimate key, though, and I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, and he's so creepy after every like
He's like,
note. He's like, what do you think?
So what do you think? And she's like, yay. You know? She's like, get me there now. So then they go in, and she sees like a bathtub filled with water, and she's like, it's a hot tub. No, it's.
She's like trying to avoid the bedroom. She's like, hot tub!
And they're like, this is gorgeous. It's literally like the most standard like suite of a hotel room. They're like, gorgeous, love it, beautiful. Oh. And then they go inside, and then they're like pressed up against a wall at one point. Her hands like seeing through, and I'm like, is she getting murdered in there? But anyway, so their date seemed to go fine. Like they don't show them to the next morning. Mm-mm. They show her like walking back in with Madison and Victoria, and obviously Madison's like,
oh, it's so awkward.
You know that she was just intimate with your boyfriend.
And they're like, oh, how was your night? And Hannah Ann's just like, good.
The tensions were so high.
Ugh.
The next person to go on their one-on-one date was Victoria. I just like really dislike her. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, wait, sorry. Before we jump to Victoria, I just remembered that when Hannah Ann is on her date, she says to Victoria, like, they're probably getting ready for dinner. And Victoria's like, no, probably for bed. And Madison, like, immediately is like,
oh, and the other thing to note is Hannah Ann basically is like, I know you're going to get intimate with the other girls, and I'm okay with it. If it helps you find your wife. And I'm like, it's a very, like, progressive thing for you to say there.
And he was like, thank you so much for saying that, because I will.
Anyway, so then him and Victoria go on this date. Mm-hmm. Them two go on a helicopter.
Oh, God.
And then they go to this waterfall.
Her voice is so fake.
Yeah.
You can tell that, like, nothing she's saying is sincere. She's like a robot trying to seem like a human.
She's like, well, I realized the reason I'm like this is because my last boyfriend didn't ask me, like, how my day went. So when you ask me, it makes me feel like something's wrong.
My past relationship I was in, it was like 3.5 years long, and I was never really like asked about my feelings in it. So when you do ask me, I like get defensive. And I'm like, wait, why is he asking me that? Like, that must mean that there's something wrong. But really, it's just because you like want to know.
That whole thing, like, she definitely just pulled that out of.
Yeah, and he was like, I really feel like we're breaking through. We just had a breakthrough moment. Like, this is a really strong relationship.
This has been, like, definitely the hardest relationship, and, like, it's been tested so many times. And it's like, dude, that's not good.
I don't like her at all, but I think at least she tried to say that just to, like, give him something to work off of, you know?
And then he was like, oh, can you elaborate? Like, what was your last relationship? And she's like, I don't know what you want to hear. And he's like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Stupid.
Okay.
Whatever. But then he does the same thing where he's like, and she's
What do
like,
you
oh
think?
no. Like, he, like, whips it out from underneath, like, the table. He's like,
oh, this has been here.
like, in his ear, like, do it now, Peter, do it now. Then they go to, like, I think it's, like, the same hotel, but, like, a different suite, so it looks different.
Which, I'm glad they at least had the decency to not give them the same room.
Have it be the exact same room, because that'd be so sketchy.
You're like, oh, here's Hannah Ann's earring.
But they show... Oh, there's Hannah Ann, too.
She's in the bathtub. Hey, guys!
So they get to this place, and Victoria's like, this is the most beautiful place I've ever seen. I'm like, it literally looks like so standard.
I'm so lucky.
I just love this man. He's mine.
Well, he's not yours yet, sweetie.
Flash forward to the morning. Them two obviously got intimate. Fine. And she shows back up, and Madison again is like, ooh.
It's killing her on the inside.
Yeah.
And she's trying so hard to be, like, supportive. The one thing is, I feel like she shouldn't have told them, the two girls, how she gave him the ultimatum.
Yeah.
Because they really, like, rolled with that.
Yeah, so Madison goes on our date, which we'll talk about later, but then it was Victoria and Hannah Ann just sitting there. And Hannah Ann was like, Madison expressed to me that, like, she's having a hard time, and that she essentially gave him this ultimatum that was like, if you get intimate with the other people, I'm leaving. And Victoria's like, that's so messed up. How could she do that? And I'm like, okay, I get where you're coming from, but, like, she also has these beliefs too that are different from you.
Yeah, and she never made it about, like, I'm gonna I won't have respect for you, Peter, if you do this. It was just about her, of, like, here's how I feel, and if you don't feel that way, fine, but
yeah, exactly.
I'm probably gonna go. So, like, Victoria, shut up. Hannah Ann, I feel like, was trying to be, like, nice. Like, when Victoria was, like, talking trash, she was just kind of like, I love Hannah Ann.
Yeah. But, okay, so then Madison goes on this date. I'm like, they're cute, they show up, and he points to, like, literally the tallest building and is like, you see that building? We're gonna, like, chain ourselves to this building and, like, walk up some more flights outdoors. I literally was having, like, fear of heights watching it.
Oh, my stomach, like, dropped when
Yeah.
they were...
I was like, the views, they literally, like, the wind is hitting them, and there's no ledge, and they just could fall.
And they're, like, leaning back because they're just attached by, like, a rope.
Yeah, a rope and, like, a little, oh, no, I didn't love that.
My chair is sinking right now. Oh, my gosh. And then they were kissing when they were up there, and I was like, just what? Do you want to match? Look at how much further I dropped than you. We were the same height before. Great.
It seems like they really got along well on this, like, the first part of their date.
Yeah.
And then they go to dinner.
She shows up looking beautiful.
Yeah.
Ready to speak her mind.
She essentially is like, you knew where I stand. If you were intimate with the other two girls, like, I would have a really difficult time with that. And he was kind of, like, avoiding the subject, and he was like, well, what do you mean you'd have a difficult time with that? And she's like, I'm not trying to make it sound like an ultimatum, but she's like, for me and my side of things, that's just my belief.
And she
does tell him that she is saving herself for marriage.
Yes. Which he was like, I respect you so much. And it's like, she doesn't care if you respect her.
Yeah.
In a week from now, if you're down on one knee, and 6 days before that, you were slept with somebody else like that. I just can't wrap my mind around that. Like, I can't.
The most real thing anyone on
the
the show could say.
I don't think anyone realizes, like, the timeline of it is so close together. And she was like, nothing against you. It's just personally, I wouldn't be able to support that.
Outside of this show,
that
wouldn't be acceptable. Like,
yeah, and I get she signed up for the show, but at the same time, it's like, you don't realize how your feelings are gonna, like, develop throughout it. You don't realize how real it's gonna get. This is her life. This isn't just a show anymore. Like, this is literally the rest of her life.
And it's his life, even though he's clearly a child. So if he loved her and he knew, even if he wanted to be with the other girls, like, but I'm gonna pick Madison, he should be completely fine not being with those two girls.
Yeah, exactly. He basically is like, so, like, I don't want to give you the details and I don't want to expose them, but I was intimate.
You just see her heart break.
Like, I don't know what to do. So then she's like, she goes, can I excuse myself for a second? Which I was like, you go, girl. Mm-hmm. For, like, being told, like, basically your boyfriend, like, didn't value what you were saying. And then she's like, but can I please be excused, you know, like, so nicely.
Then he ends up coming out, starts crying, and is like, don't go, which is, like, unfair of him because, like, he hurt her.
Yeah, and she just, like, literally at this point is not saying anything. She's just sitting there and crying because she's like, you hurt me that deeply, you know?
Yeah, and then she just walks away. Like, she doesn't even say anything. She just leaves.
So that's kind of how they end the episode. So we don't know if she walks away and she comes back. Mm-hmm. We don't know. Yeah, like, we have no information.
It's a full cliffhanger.
What about us? What about everything we've been through? Oh, what about trust? You know I never wanted to hurt you. Oh, what about me? What am I supposed to do?
It's a little bit weird. So next week,
Yeah, I'm confused about this.
They didn't have a rose ceremony this week. Typically, you go from 3 girls to 2 girls. Great. So next week, they're going to show the rose ceremony for, like, the top 2, but at the rose ceremony, you see it's only Victoria and Hannah Ann. Mm-hmm. So Madison obviously doesn't come back.
Yeah, and it seems like that's when he finds out that she left.
Yeah.
Because they're all like, where's Madison?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think they're going to show that rose ceremony, and then they're going to stop it there. So I think we'll probably see, like, 20 minutes of, like, actual footage. Oh. And then they switch to the girls' tell-all, which is typically the week before the finale.
It's just drama, basically, right?
You don't learn anything new. Mm-hmm. It's kind of annoying to watch. And then it's the finale. So Peter's mom is crying again. I think she's crying about Madison.
Your theory is really adding up now.
But then I saw another theory. Do you know Nick Viall? He was the Bachelor
I think
a couple years ago. This is his unspoiled prediction. He goes, Peter sends home Victoria. Madi leaves on her own. Peter is devastated. Peter regroups, realizing Hannah Ann is his person. Right before proposing to Hannah Ann, Madi comes back. Peter is confused, like many before us, confusing something that doesn't fit with fighting for love. Hannah Ann is like, WTF, I feel like a backup plan. Threatens to leave, kind of leave, even playing field. Peter is confused again. Peter sends home Madi. Mom tells Pete to bring Hannah Ann back. He does. Peter is with Hannah Ann.
Definitely possible, but I feel like...
I still like my theory more. I love Madison, but I don't think Peter deserves her. Dump him, be the next Bachelorette, you know, anything's possible.
My mom feels bad for Hannah Ann, because she's like, she's just a young girl who's in love and, like, being strung along. Like, I feel like Hannah Ann's... I think he likes her, but I don't think he loves her. Peter doesn't understand that attraction is not love.
Yeah. All right, so to the board, I guess no one really...
We don't cross anyone off this week. I'll keep that I think Hannah Ann wins just for sake of...
because I still think Madison wins. Victoria, like, has to go home. So say Madison goes home, or Madison sends herself home, because in the rose ceremony next week, we just see Victoria and Hannah Ann. Mm-hmm. Does he then keep both of them? Because say if you were to send one of them home, then, okay, you're left with one person.
So they win. Maybe they, like, cancel. Because he's so upset.
Yeah. I fully don't know, but I know it's not Victoria F.
I can't believe you made me watch this show.
Yeah, isn't it addicting?
It's so stressful. I wouldn't wish this upon anybody.
Yeah, that's this week's recap. Recap of Fantasy Suite Week. And hopefully we get some answers because we're a little bit confused here.
If not, I guess we can hash out all of the girls' drama.
Can't wait.